So this video is in response to my friend Sandra's question where she asked, what about when we're traveling or when we get to a hotel? How are we supposed to eat healthy when we're not in our own home? It's a great question and something I can really relate to because I recently, over the last few months, I traveled across Canada to move from Ottawa, Ontario. So from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, to Parksville, British Columbia, Canada, which is on Vancouver Island. So for any of my American friends, that's essentially like moving from New York City to Seattle. So we drove across the country to move out here, and I knew that I did not want to leave it to chance what was going to be served to me. I wanted to take matters into my own hands. I wanted to make sure that we were properly nourished so that we would be energized and awake and really there, present for the experience of driving across this beautiful country. If any of you live in Canada and you have never traveled across the country, I highly recommend it. We actually started in New Brunswick, which, so for my American friends, pretend that's Maine. And we flew from Fredericton, New Brunswick to Ottawa and then got in our vehicle and started driving from there. So we really did do a cross-Canada adventure. And pretty much everything that I tend to do on any road trip is what we did on our extended road trip across the country. And all you need to do is just plan for it, prepare for it, be committed to the plan, and really not allow temptation to sway you, because there is a convenience store and a pit stop and a coffee shop and a fast food restaurant, you know, a lot of the time when you're traveling. And so we need to be vigilant and take matters into our own hands. So what do I do? First and foremost, whenever I start a trip, I make sure that I am properly nourished in the morning. I love waking up to have a lovely smoothie. I think they're fabulous because we can pack in so much nutrition into one meal. So I love a smoothie for that reason. I also will pack things like hard-boiled eggs, especially if it's a longer trip and you're in the car. I would recommend buying what Roger and I did is we bought a portable cooler that you can plug in. So this was a really great tip from a friend of mine, Allie. So thanks for that, Allie. She said, you know, it was a real lifesaver for her on a big trip as well. So it just really inspired me. I was going to do the ice pack thing and do all of that, but this really made it a lot easier. So a powered cooler. And in that cooler, I had hard-boiled eggs. I made wraps. So I would just buy, you know, good quality tortilla wraps. I like the Ezekiel brand. They're a sprouted grain. And then in there, I mean, I would, you know, I'm not saying I'm perfect all the time. There is no such thing as perfect. And I don't love deli meats. They're really high in sodium. But hey, if it's the difference between going to a burger joint or if it's making a wrap with an Ezekiel wrap, fresh lettuce, I would slice up peppers. So I would just buy a pepper, and in the hotel room, I'm literally laid out on the bed with towels. I brought a cutting board and knife with me on our trip, and I sliced up some peppers and some cucumber, and I was, you know, creating an assembly line of wraps. And then I like to buy, the only deli meats I really like are, that I do once in a while, are roasted turkey or roasted chicken. And so we would just really line the bed with a towel, and then we would make this assembly line situation. And so I could make 2 or 3 days worth of wraps. And sure, it got a little boring, I guess, but once you eat and you're full and you feel so good, you just keep going on the trip and you realize what you're there for, which is for the experience, not so much the food. That said, a few times we were really strategic about where we were going to have a lovely meal. We'd heard a great thing about this hotel restaurant, so we wanted to go there, and we ordered, you know, off that menu. And we went to another couple of different spots where we did say, hey, we're going to have some fun here too. We're also going to indulge and do some of these things, but we're not what we do every once in a while. We're what we do day in, day out, moment in, moment out, every single decision that we make. So we really need to be mindful of our habits. What is the habit here? Is the habit stopping at McDonald's 2 or 3 times a day on a long road trip? Or is the habit eating from our cooler and then once in a while going to a restaurant and having a good meal? Other things that I love packing in the cooler, chopped vegetables, easy portable fruits like bananas, apples, oranges. I love hummus. You can buy it. You can make it. Great for dipping those veggies. I love making a homemade trail mix. That's always a really popular one for me. Again, I love hard-boiled eggs. They're just super portable. They smell bad in the car. I know, but it is what it is. But they're just so easy and portable. I also don't mind a hard cheese served with an apple. That's a really nice snack that I love to have. If you like nut butters, I love almond butter smeared on a banana. That's a great snack. Again, wraps were most of our meals, or you could do really good quality bread and make sandwiches. You can also just have in little like Buddha bowls. You can make containers up before you leave with things like brown rice and some, avocado and some black beans, and or if you eat meat, so maybe some chopped chicken or whatever, and you can make like a nice Buddha bowl with some greens in the middle, and then you've got some veggies, some protein, some carbs, and it feels really balanced and like a nice meal that you can eat with a fork if you plan on sort of taking a moment to stop and eat your meal. A lot of the times when Roger and I were driving, we would just be driving and eating our wrap as we're driving. Not the best way to eat. We want to be maybe a bit more mindful, but it really worked well for us. It allowed us to get across this country, first of all, saving a fortune, but most importantly, really prioritizing our health and our nutrition. We wanted to feel good. Of course, you need to prioritize your hydration. Making water your drink of choice. Just have loads of water. We had 3 or 4 stainless steel containers in our vehicle at all times. And so anytime we could refill, we would, and we would just do that all the way across the country. If you're flying to your destination, so my bag at the airport is always laughable because it's mostly filled with snacks, but I will do a big baggie of trail mix, something that I've made myself, or you can buy them, but I prefer raw nuts, so raw pecans, raw almonds, raw walnuts. I throw in maybe some dried fruit like goji berries, raisins, whatever, to give it a little bit of sweetness, maybe some dark chocolate chips for some fun. And so then I've got a nice baggie of protein, some nice trail mix that can really keep you going a little bit. And I also will sometimes slice up some cheese, or you can have those cheese, you can buy them, packaged. It's not my favorite way at all, but when we're traveling, sometimes we have to make these concessions. So cheese with an apple, again, a really nice snack. Hard-boiled eggs, if I'm not gonna, really offend everybody, I sometimes go far away. Something that I like to do when I'm in an airport and there are no other real options, I sometimes go to Starbucks and I order their oatmeal. I don't put on the sugar and the dried fruit, but I put the nuts on. I put a little bit of coconut milk, or if you drink dairy, whatever. So, mix it up there. And so now you've got at least something that's, yes, it's high in carbs. It's got some protein in there. It's got some nutrition, and it's going to kind of hold on. You're going to kind of hold on to that a little bit longer so that you can get through that flight and get to the other side of it feeling nourished and feeling energized, as opposed to being drained by the hot dog or the pizza or whatever is in the airport. If you're now at your destination and you don't have the cooler because you've flown, and now you're like, I'm untethered, I'm not in my own home, we don't have our own food here, we can't grocery shop, because that was the other thing Roger and I did along the way. We just kept stopping at grocery stores to replenish our cooler, and that's something that you can do when you're on road trips, even just short, a few hours road trips. You can do that. You can pack the cooler ahead of time, and then as you go, if you need to keep going on the trip, you can go to another grocery store and buy some more supplies. But if you're at your destination, now you're at the hotel and you're like, what do I do here? A sure bet is whenever you're looking at a menu, if you can choose protein and vegetables, you are doing great. So whenever I go to a hotel and they serve breakfast in the morning, I'm looking for the protein. I'm not going to be looking for the refined carbohydrates, which is usually most of the hotel buffet or most of what's on the menu. So the breads, the pastries, the croissants, the bagels, the brownies, the cookies, all of these things, the cereal, I am going to just walk away from that, and I'm going to say where the eggs, especially, hard-boiled eggs, or if they're serving the meal, I love getting poached eggs, are really lovely. We might not be able to get the best quality bread, but do your best. Maybe choose a nice, a nice whole grain if they've got it. And if, maybe only have half a piece or one piece instead of the normal 2 or 4 pieces that they normally serve. When it comes to the fruit, so if they can bring over a nice bowl of fruit or a piece of fruit, great. So you've got some fruit in the morning. I love getting vegetables first thing in the morning because I find that so many of us get to the end of the day and it's like, now is the first time we're going to look at a vegetable. Instead, I like to see vegetables at every stage of the day. So that's why I love a morning smoothie, because I get veggies in it right away. All that to say, if you can, so I've done this before. I've asked when we've been sitting down at a table, I've said, can I please have some poached eggs? And whatever veggies you've got back there, can you just throw those on the plate instead of the hash browns and the bacon and the really high sodium stuff that's just going to leave me drained and very, very thirsty? And usually it's not a problem. They'll say, oh yeah, sure, no problem. We'll put some, even if it's cold veggies, it's almost like a salad. Other times I've had someone saute some really nice vegetables for me on the side of my omelet or my scrambled eggs or my poached eggs. So really easy to make those switches. Sometimes we don't think we can ask for something that's not on the menu, but most often, especially if they're not super busy, restaurants are happy to accommodate. And so then when we're going out for lunches, same thing. You're looking for the proteins and the vegetables more so than you're looking for the refined carbohydrates. So if you can get away from the sandwiches, the pizza, the bagel and cream cheese, the sandwiches, the pastas, getting away from those things and ordering more so, the piece of chicken or the chicken salad or the steak with, with grilled vegetables on the side. And if you want a couple of potatoes, go for it, but just eyes wide open about the choices that you're making so that you're not wondering why you don't feel great if you decide to go for whatever it is, right? The double cheese pepperoni pizza. When you make that choice, you're not shocked or surprised with the way you feel. This whole process that I teach and that I'm just so passionate about is making the link between what we eat and how we feel. It really needs to get back to basics, and how we feel, that's the language of the body. The body tells us how these foods make us feel. So if you eat and then you feel like you could fall asleep on your road trip or on your visit to friends, that's no fun. That's not you having a great time. You might have enjoyed that meal while it was going down, but your body's now got a whole bunch of work to do, and you're not having as much fun as you really could be in your life if you nourished your body the way that it needs to be nourished. So many people are afraid of hunger and they fear it. They equate eating with gaining weight, and we need to stop that, right? The fuel light in your car goes on, and we could fill that car. That's the indicator. So hunger is our indicator, and we could fill that car with water, and now that indicator light would go off. But what would happen, right? Or if we filled it with Coca-Cola or tomato juice, the car wouldn't go. So we can fill our bodies when we're hungry with whatever our craving is driving us to take in. But that's not really nourishment to the body. It's not really doing what the body was asking for. Yes, the body was hungry, but the body was hungry for nourishment, for nutrients. It needs nutrients to survive and to thrive. Just like a car needs gasoline or electricity or diesel, right? And so if we don't give them what they need, they don't work properly. We don't work properly if we don't get given what we really thrive with. So it's all about making choices that help us to thrive in our lives. I really hope that this served you, Sandra, and anybody else that's been watching. I love you. I'll see you in the next video where I answer another question. I'm not sure which one, but I will get to another question soon. Bye for now.